let's talk Jimmie Ward.
Yeah.
We've talked about him a lot. He came on my show. He was really nice. He also he's been doing a very good job of explaining why he's good. I feel like he's learned from Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman's one of the best self promoters I've covered, and I think he really made himself a lot of money. Because I think what Richard Sherman understood is if he doesn't promote himself, no one will. The
Yeah.
media won't necessarily, the team won't necessarily. And Jimmie Ward has seen that, and he's saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. And we're learning that he has this really cool personality to go with it. But he's making a real strong case that he is the coverage master at safety. He's the guy who covers like a corner at safety and hits like a safety. Do you see him differently after hearing his sales pitch for himself?
Well, my favorite thing about the whole, I mean, the interview was great. So let me just put that out there
Thank
first.
you.
That was a terrific interview, and just heard so many things coming out of him. And one of the biggest things that he was talking about for me was how he had to play all these different positions. And
Right.
He's played, since he got here, he was drafted as a safety, but they threw him in at slot corner. He's played quarterback, corner. They've moved him all around, and then finally, it just seems like, since the Harbaugh regime got here, they finally realized that this guy's a free safety, and they're playing him in the right spot.
If you think about it, they made him start at nickel on a team that had gone to 3 straight NFC Championship games. They're like, you play that position right now and do it as well as Carlos Rogers because we need to win. That was tough. And he even said, look,
Yeah.
I never earned that job. Rookie. Never. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just was I was thrown in there because they needed me
Yeah.
too, because they didn't have anybody else. And he's completely right on that whole thing. He was thrown into really a no-win situation when he first got here, and that's what they did with him. They put him in one of the toughest positions to play on the defense, and expected him to go out and play like a veteran.
And that's why the perception of him was so low. It's like the first round pick. Oh, look at him get beat by Brandon Marshall. He's not a nickelback. Well, no. And then they put him at corner. He's not a corner. Well, no. I mean, he didn't even get a chance until he was like 27 to do what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But all that, the thing is, all that stuff and moving around is put him in the position to where he is now, where he's so valuable to the team because he can do so many things. He's best as a free safety, but he has that ability to come up and play in the box. He has that ability to play in the slot and cover those guys and do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it at a really high level. My only thing, and I'll say this, is that I've always thought that Ward's a good player. I think that he makes a good, he does his job as a free safety. My only knock on Jimmie Ward is that he doesn't get the turnovers that you would like to see from a guy that's at that position. And so that's been my only knock on him. And I know that he throws out a lot of different reasons for it, as far as because they're moving him around so much, and that's a big part of it. And I agree. I've looked at it in the past, and the 49ers run the Seattle scheme, and Earl Thomas had interceptions, every year. He was almost, more
Andre
than
Diggs up there.
Yeah, and yet you don't see that out of Ward. So that's the only negative in his game is the lack of the turnovers. And I know, he had a couple of games last year where he did a good job of forcing turnovers, but you go back to like that Saints game, and he had an opportunity for a turnover that would have been a big deal at that point in the game that he didn't convert on, right? On that ball over the middle where he gets up and he has to jump kind of high, but he gets both hands on the ball and he doesn't bring it in. That was a big point in that game. Niners were behind, I think, at that point, but it was still close. And that's my only knock on Jimmie Ward. But his value to the defense is really high because he does so much, and he makes he allows everybody else to be able to, in a way, be put into specific roles that makes it easier for them as well.
Yes.
Hope I'm making sense there.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you really summed up his value really well. I think what's interesting about him, what his distinction was that like he's been forced to play outside corner, so that's one thing that he can do that no one else can do. He has all these experiences, but he also made the point like, I'm not experienced playing single high. That was interesting to me. I always thought he had the skill set to be great at it, but he pointed out like, I didn't do that in college. I played quarters in college, played nickel, played corner, and then finally when it's time to play in the post, he didn't really know what he was doing. He was like, I'm backpedaling against a quick game, and it got guys like Kwaski Tarp being like, what the hell are you doing? And what I was like, my question with Ward is, how can you never be around the ball playing single high? It just seems like you should be. And whatever reason, you're reacting late. And I think he was saying is like, yeah, I was reacting. I'm new to that position. And actually, Jaquiski Tartt is a better feel for it, or initially did. And they don't even run as much single high anymore. When they do, it's often Tartt, which is what I've noticed. It's kind of interesting. Maybe as they play more split safety stuff, he might break quicker. He might be a little more instinctual from two-man cover 4 type stuff than cover 3. I don't know. Yeah,
well, he's growing into.
Yeah,
yeah, he's growing into the role, and it's going to be fun to see him in this season in 2021, because it sounds like they've got some plans for him to be a little bit more aggressive and do some of those things that some of these other safeties are being asked to do that he hasn't been in the past. At least that's kind of, from some of the things that I've heard him say, it sounds like that's. I think he mentioned that during his press conference that he had during OTAs, that he was asking to be able to do some of those things a little more often.
I have a theory. I think he's going to be in coverage again this year, and I think he wants more targets. I think he feels like just locking a guy down and forcing the ball another way isn't going to get him to the Pro Bowl. So what he needs to do is talk a lot of shit and almost goad teams into throwing at him so he can get more action. I think that's what he's trying to do. I think he's that confident. I think he's saying, if I talk enough shit, people will finally throw my way. I think that might be something. Might be something to that.
Yeah, that definitely could be, because you've seen him get put down in those situations. I know he talked about like the Rams going after him all the time, and he's played really well against the Rams when he's been, you go back to that game when they played the Rams down in LA in 2019. I mean, he was a monster in the slot against the slot receiver and the tight end. So yeah, keep talking that stuff. Get the coaches, try to get in their head, try to get in the quarterback's head.
Yeah,
and I think he is in the last year of his contract too, right? So. Yeah,
I think he's got one more, but I think he's got one more. I think he signed a 3-year deal.
Oh, you're right. He did.
But what I think he's saying is he wants all the smoke, Jack. I think he wants all of the smoke.
Yeah,
I respect.
Bring it all on. Start throwing it at me, because that's how I'm gonna make more money. That's how I'm gonna get put on these ratings.
Right.
Because he's a really good corner free safety who belongs to be in that conversation among the top 10 safeties in the league. His name usually doesn't come up, and the reason it doesn't come up is because he's not getting the highlight reel plays. He makes your solid tackles and plays down the field, but he doesn't make that. He's not making the interception and the stuff that ends up on.
And I'm sure he's thinking, I don't get the opportunity, so if I run my mouth enough, maybe I will. I think it's brilliant. I mean, it never really worked for Richard Sherman though. Richard Sherman would talk, and people would be like, "Yeah, he's right. We're not throwing over there." For a decade, it was amazing. Double B Studio says, this is my first question ever. He's shy. Yeah, Love the show. Gotta go. I'll catch the rest of the show later. But when are you going to interview the next player? I don't know. I want to let this Jimmie Ward one breathe for a minute because it was so good and no one can top this. So I don't want anyone to come in and have to have that. It's like following Chardal. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? So I'll let it breathe. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to be gone this weekend. So a couple weeks. But I'm not going to let you wait too long. That's tough. That's a tough act to follow, man. He's good.
Yeah, that was a really good one. He just he brings so much energy and different stuff. It was really interesting to hear him talk about playing for, what was he playing for? Cheese fries. And that whole conversation. That was
trying to get into football. Well, I love cheese fries, and that was really how I was enticed to play at first. I got cheese fries if I played. Well, thank God for cheese fries. I used to get cheese fries in middle school. People would line up before school and before lunch to get the cheese fry. They're hella good. If you haven't had cheese fries, they're hella good.
Oh yeah, cheese fries are good. The thing for me was when I was in school was cheese bread. It was French bread, and they slice it and they put a little butter, but big old piece of American cheese on there. And then if you wanted to pay an extra 25 cents, you get a little cup of nacho cheese to dip that in. Cheese all day long.